this is okay. Thank you. Yes, thank you inviting me this. Actually, I feel a little bit sorry because I'm involved also to the diverse food project. But when I was asked about to join this, to organize this, I was in the middle of something very rush time, and so. But I'm very glad that you took this. Yes, you took this idea and organized this all. So I'm very happy about this. So I'm going to talk about crop diversity in different way, and I'm not going to focus only to organic farming, but just a little bit give an overview what different way we can think about crop diversity, and some numbers from Finland, diversity numbers, and what is the potential of diversity. And now I will focus more on species diversity than genetic diversity. But I think there's very many links, so I'm sure that this helps also to think about the genetic diversity. And then something about the product issue. Here's the picture how different way we can think about the diversity. We are maybe more focusing here, genetic diversity, the local races and varieties and so on. We can also say that the species diversity is very important. It means that how many different crops we have. Then we can think about the diversity in cropping systems. This means that how the crops are cultivated in the farm. For example, crop rotations, and if it's a mixed crop or not, and direct sowing, organic farming, all this makes difference to the environment and make more diverse. Then we can think about the farm structure. This means also way of earning. There can be animals, crops, services, contracts, tourism. All this makes difference and diverse to the farm, actually. Then we can think about how to sell the agri-food products. If it's direct from the farm, or for example, direct selling rings, which is very popular here now in Finland, or to the wholesale or retail sale. So also this can make difference. Of course, there's a difference also what kind of products are manufactured from the raw materials. If it's only one or two or different ones. And then the delivery chain, where the consumers buy the product itself, internet or special shops from the market halls, etc. And last but not least, of course, as a consumer, we are very different. We have different preferences, diets, health requirements, and so on and so on. So all this makes this issue very diverse, and we can think it very different way. But I'm focusing maybe on the species diversity in this talk. And then there's some numbers. We can go them very shortly because we just heard something about on the first opening the talk on Veli-Matti about this. But overall, we have about 51,000 farms in Finland. Mostly they are cereal farms, and then we also have milk and beef production, about a little bit more than 10,000, 12,000 at this moment. Once I also cultivated the species we are producing in Finland. Of course, we cannot get a very clear idea because there might be different ways to produce, but it's a little bit less than 200, and it's quite a lot. But if we think about overall the major crop, then we get the real numbers. Actually, the four biggest crops are the cereals and grasses, and they cover about 80% of the land area. About 50% of the plants crops produced are used for food, and the rest for feed. 60,000 farms are selling directly from the farms, And then there's very popular Reco ring. I got some numbers that there's now about 150 Reco rings, but maybe more. So it's kind of direct selling rings where the farmers, where the consumers can anyway, it's very the consumers can buy the products from the internet, and so they have different places where the farmers go and bring the product. Then we have about 1,300 small retail shops or market halls and so on, and the total number is 4,000. And the two biggest retail chain, K and S, covers about 80% of the value. I tried to figure out how many food products we have in Finland, but I could not find any numbers of that, and either the researchers. But I got some number that there are about 25 to 30,000 products in the markets. I don't know, because there's a lot of also other products than used for food or feed, so this may be misleading number, but I just was curious about that. And about the value of food and feed, or actually the import of food and feed is increasing all the time. And for example, the August 2016, it was about 3,000 million euros. And it makes quite a lot if we count it by 12, so it's about 3.5 milliards euros in a year. So something about diversity in Finland, and this I mean about the species diversity, not genetic diversity. And we have been calculating it. I don't know if you can see the colors. No. Yes, I'm sorry about this. I can try to figure something. So we calculated in two periods. 95 to 99, and then 2007 to 2011. And the reddish in this picture should mean that there is a more monoculture, and the green one that there is a more crop rotation. And here is the mostly the reddish part. And actually just here was the most the area where the frequency of monoculture was the highest. It was almost 40% at that time. But when we came to 2002 and 11, we can see that the monoculture is not so frequent anymore. Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So just here in the corner of southwest Finland, now it's the highest. But also we can see that in the actually area Oulu, the monoculture frequency has increased. But overall, the frequency of crop rotation has increased in Finland a little bit. But unfortunately, we don't have the latest numbers yet. We will calculate those at the beginning of next year, but this was the situation about 5 years ago. Some numbers about the potential of the crops. Of course, we know that there's a huge number of potential crops in the world, in the temperate area. Even in Finland, we could grow much more crops. But unfortunately, the situation is that about 10 crops covers most of the energy we will get in the world. So we lose a lot of potential in this, as you may know. Then we make some in this talk I will give some examples on how the diversity, when we are talking about species diversity, improves the farm's economy. Because we know quite many, we have get information how diversity is good for environment, for example. I think we all know that there's a very good examples how the diversity is good for environment, soil, and the nature around the fields. But we have less information of the economy of the diversity, and that's why I took some examples here. This is a research we made in Luke some years ago, and we studied different pre-crops just before papa bean, oats, spring wheat, turnip grape, lupine, buckwheat, oil hemp, and linseed as a pre-crop for spring wheat, and we followed how the wheat formation was after that on the spring wheat, and here's the results of 3 years. The blue is the first year of wheat after the pre-crops. The red one is the second year, and the green one is the third year. And if we can just summarize this, we can see that actually all the crops were very high, or the yield of spring wheat was higher after all the crops, pre-crops, 2 years. But the third year was there were some differences. For example, oat and linseed maybe they don't give any more any input to the wheat after 3 years. But of course, this is a monoculture type, so it's not so good way to do it. But we wanted to see as a researcher what is the effect. And so we can summarize that from 300 to 700 kilograms we can get more yield from spring wheat. Okay, and then we have another example. There is it's the relationship between family income and the diversity of crops in a farm. And the blues, these show the family income, and they are classified in 3 different groups. They are good, average, and weak. And as we said, the weak is really weak because it's a minus. So in this farm, the situation is quite bad, and of course in this very good actually, 40,000 euros per year. And then we correlated it or looked at is there any difference on the diversity of the crop in the farm. And we could see that these pots are the diversity number. It's calculated with Shannon-Weaver index. And the higher the number, the more there is crops in that farm. So we can see that it's not linear with the income changes, of course. But anyway, the farms which have a good income, they have more crops in those farms. And in the opposite, the weak farms which have very low income, they have less crops. So this is an example. It was calculated between 2010 and 2014, and it was covered not the entire Finland, but the major cropping areas in Finland. Okay, I go further. I will show this one. This is kind of example of different crops we can cultivate in Finland. And these are crops we are. Oops. Oh. So sorry. So we can call this kind of species diversity crops in Finland. So they are different species. They are spelt faba bean, caraway, false-bark, linseed, oil hemp, sunflower, lupine, quinoa, and buckwheat. All these are potential crops at this moment. And then I look at do we have products from these crops? And actually we have almost from every crops we have some product examples. So I just want to show this, that even I'm not now talking about the species, but it can happen also with different varieties and local races, the same thing. And this is just an example in the situation we have here in Finland. And there's quite a big boom with these crops at this moment. And in the last, I will show about Luke, or our institute, just calculated the importance of bioeconomy in Finland at this moment, or actually 2014. And it seems that overall the bioeconomy covers about 60% of our output of Finnish national economy, and food and feed is about 1/4 of that. So it's very important business, and we shouldn't lose this. And of course, all the races and species and local varieties can increase this ration. Because if we calculate also the part we import at this moment, it gets at this moment it's about 16 milliards, so it can be like a 19-20 milliards. So, thank you for your attention.